16, we're continuing discussing the California Voter Rights Act and the local Santa Clarita lawsuits here that have been filed both with the city and with some of our school districts. KHTS's Perry Smith moderating the discussion with attorney Kevin Shenkman and local citizen Joe Messina. He is here today as a local citizen, not as a school board member, which he also is, but he is speaking just for himself and not for the Hart District today. Perry.
We were just talking about at the break the statistics of it, and obviously there's a way to chart the output and how the numbers translate. But one of the ways that I was looking at it is essentially if you did draw up districts as a solution, and you have your heavily Hispanic or Latino area in that one part of the valley, and you're a Hispanic or a Latino voter in a part of the valley that's not deemed heavily Hispanic or Latino, and so it's districted that way. I mean, does that not disenfranchise your access a little bit?
So I guess first,
following the same logic.
First, I'd say that the districts are but one available remedy. It is, to be fair, the most common remedy used federally, and it's certainly been, frankly, the only remedy that's been utilized in the California Voting Rights Act cases that have been filed up to this point. But I keep coming back to right now in Santa Clarita, Latinos have zero representation.
On the council.
Can you right on the council? Absolutely. On the Hart School Board, I know, Joe, you're
I'm Latino.
Doing solid. Okay. So
Italians are from the Latin area.
But can you do any worse than zero?
Well, the voters who have access to the ballots for the William S. Hart Union High School District, that's a valley-wide district. It's essentially even a broader berth than the city of Santa Clarita. You have a Hispanic representative right now on the Hart District, so it's the same ballot access issue, is it not? I mean, if you have a candidate in one district, how does that not translate to access for a candidate within the same geographic region?
It's not so much about ballot access, like I said before, but I think, and Joe can probably speak to this more than I can, but I think school board elections are very different than city council elections. City council elections cost a lot more, especially in at-large systems. District-based elections cost less than at-large systems. And we could certainly have a conversation about which is better, at-large or district, and that's a worthy debate. It's something I learned just a couple days ago. Did you know what the largest city that still has at-large elections is? It's my hometown, city of Detroit, a city that's been in the news for
having a little bit of trouble right now.
It's having some trouble, and it's had some trouble for a lot of years, and
it worked there, right? Because I mean, they're majority black, and their councils and
used to be a majority white,
majority black. Yeah, but they are there now, though. Yeah. With that large election.
If you want to go ahead and address that question, Joe, that I posed to Kevin, I mean.
Well, it goes back to Kevin and I first got together because I kind of poked at you on Facebook, and it goes back to what I said before. You've got an attorney coming into town, going to make things right, has no clue as to what goes on. And, to the point of what you said a minute ago, the numbers are different in different areas. You said you would imagine that the city council election is more expensive. Actually, the Hart Board election is more expensive. We cover more areas. We have to pay the county to cover our elections, and they can be anywhere from 80 to, depending on how many other agencies get involved, it can be anywhere from 80 to $600,000.
I meant the campaigns.
Right, but the campaigns actually, because I've run 4 of them now. If we go to you go to even forget the I keep forgetting the name. District elections. You've got to run hard still to get your information out. Now you're running when you talk about running the districts. Are you also talking about moving those up under a general election time? Presidential and congressional, or leave them the way they are now? Because that adds a whole different flavor to this. And then to Perry's point a minute ago is Latinos do run here. And Latinos come out in large numbers also to vote here. It's easy to say we can district, but where would you run the districts? Are you said we have a 30%, and when we talked earlier, you also said that there's another number that you use, or you have to pull out certain numbers. We have a 30% Latino population, but we have a prison here. Do you know that in this area? And they included in that 30%. They include the Latino population in the prison. They include the younger Latinos before they're 18 even have the ability to vote, and they include the people who are here illegally. So that number, from my understanding and checking with a couple of demographers, if that's what they're called, we're closer to a 17% or an 18% Latino population here for real when it comes to voting. I think the numbers get thrown out. Yeah, this is what it means, and this is what we should have on the boards. I don't think that's true. I think you've got 5 different school boards. There are 5 different communities. Some of them have almost no Latino constituency, and some of them have a larger Latino constituency.
Can I ask a question here as well? Because as somebody who is just kind of finding out about the Rights Act through the local suits just for the first time, not knowing a lot about district representation versus at-large representation, I kind of want to get both of your thoughts just on this. And one of the things that I have heard as a complaint, because it seems like district representation is the next alternative to what we have now, which is at large. And if we go to a district representation, one of the one of the talking points I see for people who are against being represented in a district is that they feel that they lose here in Santa Clarita 4/5 of their representation. So in other words, whereas they could have voted between or chosen between 5 candidates for city council, for example, which is what we have right now, 5 seats in the city council, now they only get to choose for one person to represent them on the city council rather than having to be able to choose between the 5. I just want to know if you think that is a valid concern, Joe first, and then Kevin. Do you think that is a valid concern, Joe?
I do. Look, we all want choices, right? Isn't that what it's about, choice? We all want choices. We all want the best candidate. And somebody in my chat room said, is it about the best candidate or is it about getting the Hispanics on the board? Which is it? I want the best candidate. I don't care what their last name is. We should start naming them candidate A, B, C, and D. So I want, if we come up, what is it, 3 and 2? So one year we have 3 people up, and one year we have 2 people up. So, now you're going to get me down to voting one person for one area.
Kevin?
So, to be clear, these lawsuits, the California Voting Rights Act, it's not about racial preferences. It's not a racial quota. It's not affirmative action. That was all settled by the appellate court. And the defendant in that case, City of Modesto, tried to get the California Supreme Court and the U.S. Supreme Court to jump in and reverse the appellate court, and they declined to do so. Want to make that point clear, that in taking a city like Santa Ana, for example, the white minority might have a California Voting Rights Act claim. I don't know. It's certainly possible. And my understanding is that in Santa Ana, all of the council members are Hispanic, and you've got about a 10% white population, non-Hispanic white. But to address your question in particular, no, I don't think that's a legitimate argument. I think it's a scare tactic. There are legitimate arguments for why at-large elections might be better than district-based elections, and vice versa. There are certainly trade-offs. But when you have a district-based system in a council or board that has 5 members, you have 5 times the voting power in choosing your one representative. That's the same as in the House of Representatives. You don't lose 99.8% of your voting power because you only vote for 1 out of 435 congressmen. You have that one representative, and your vote matters much, much more to the election of that one representative than it would if you were taking a nationwide election.
That's a great argument. You're talking about 700,000 voters for one congressperson. Okay, we're talking about local elections, whole different animal. Must be a whole different universe.
It's just a matter of scale.
Sorry, getting to the discussion of demographics, which you brought up, Joe. Again, I want to reiterate, you're not here as a Heart Board member, but you are in the Heart Board, and you were the lone dissenting vote on the 4-1 move for elections. The Heart Board was, proactively looking at this in May of last year. You guys conducted a demographic study. There was more than $10,000 spent to look at those numbers. Again, you're not here as a Heart Board member, but you guys voted to move the elections.
And I did vote to spend the money to do the report to make sure we were doing the right thing.
Now the county goes and with a 2-1 vote of non-action, they void that. However, the demographic data is still not being released, and I want to know, if why not waive the attorney-client privilege to get that data out there if it kind of exonerates the district and prevents these costly, could preempt this lawsuit, basically.
Well, 2 things. First is, as you know, I'm one of 5 votes.
Right.
All right, so somebody would have to bring that up, put it on the agenda, and vote on it, number 1. Number 2 is now that it's in litigation, I mean, the attorney will be able to get that information from the other districts, I would imagine. I don't know. I'm not an attorney.
We've sent a request.
Right. So that they'll be dealing with it the legal way. The reason I was the dissenting vote. Two things. I don't like to be bullied and pushed into doing something. And the bottom line is this will prevent a lawsuit. Well, obviously it didn't. So it wasn't the right way to go. We should have done our homework up front and decided how we were, as a group, going to defend or not defend or whatever this issue.
When you say as a group, you mean all the school districts?
All the school boards. I still feel that all the school boards should get together, all the water board districts, all the city council should get together and sit down and come up with a real plan to make this work. I think, you know what's going to happen here? It's going to happen whatever happens in every lawsuit, which is somebody's going to try to settle with you, you'll take the money, they'll put up the districts, and everybody will go along with their lollipops in their mouth, and they're going to be happy, and the taxpayer dollars have been flushed down the toilet. And it really won't fix the heart of the problem. There is another way to fix this problem. If you really feel like they don't have a voice, and we need a district, and we need to clean it up and give them more of a voice in the community, I think there are other ways to make that happen. Just drawing lines on a map saying, okay, now you've got a bigger chunk. I don't see that as a real solution.
So I think the question was about the demographic study, and let me just read one sentence of what the Hart School District and all of the other school districts in Santa Clarita told the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. The demographic studies indicated that there was a possible need to increase the voting power of certain voting blocks within each of the 6 districts. Well, you know, I give credit to the school districts for trying to do something, but that didn't work. And then there was just simply inaction. If you know you have a problem, then you ought to do something about it. And this letter, to me, indicates that the school districts at least recognized that they had a problem. Now, what do we do about it?
Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get back from our break, right, Jason?
Yeah, we're going to do a traffic update now at 3:28, and we'll come back and talk more with Kevin and with Joe and with Perry.